Triple-digit heat is back a little earlier than usual and is dominating the Lone Star State. While the hot weather can be uncomfortable, in some cases, it can be a serious health risk. As we move towards a Texas summer, residents need to take added steps to protect themselves and their loved ones. For more on what you can and should be doing, I spoke with Dr. Ralph Riviello from University Health. We're joined with Dr. Riviello. Good morning, doctor. Let's talk some heat safety.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. It's hot.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so my first question, how much sun is too much sun?
And I think, there's a lot of answers to your question because it's what do you want to know about the sun and how safe it is, right? So there's always the worry, which is a more long-term worry about things like skin cancers and melanoma and that kind of stuff. So, if you're looking at that aspect of it, probably, no sun is good when you're looking at the cancer risks and all that kind of stuff. But we do have ways to protect ourselves. Wearing hats, wearing sunscreen, even when you don't, necessarily think that it's a bright, shiny day. Even when it's cloudy, you should put your sunscreen on and use facial sunscreen and all that kind of stuff. So that's the one aspect of the sun. But for the most part, we enjoy the sun because we like to do outdoor things and it helps us to feel better and want to do those outdoor things. But then we get into the problem when it's, excessively hot, and then there's risks of illness from the heat.
You talked a little bit about melanoma. How quickly can that develop? And should people be getting regularly tested for this?
Yeah, so melanoma is one of the more serious forms of skin cancer, and they often develop over time, and that time is variable for everybody. But it's absolutely important that everybody gets yearly skin screening to look at those suspicious moles or lesions on your skin so that an expert like a dermatologist can review it and see if any of them are suspicious and need to be removed and sent to the pathologist to be looked at under the microscope to actually see if there's anything to worry about.
And for those that don't have a choice and have to be out in the sun as their daily job, what is something that they can do to either prevent skin cancer or prevent something such as heat exhaustion?
So for both conditions, skin cancers and heat exhaustion or heat-related illness, the key to both of them is the same: prevention, right? So wearing a hat, SPF, long sleeve shirts, if you're able to tolerate it, and those kind of things will all go a long way to help to prevent skin cancer. Even using some of the UV protection clothing that's sold may be a little bit more expensive, but if you're outside in the sun a lot, it's probably worth wearing those kind of shirts and that. From the heat exhaustion or heat illness in general standpoint, once again, prevention is key. The big one is, to rest frequently, try to get out of the sun and the heat on regular intervals, and most importantly, keep yourself well hydrated with water, electrolyte drinks, sports drinks, but try to avoid anything that's really sugary, but also you don't want to drink alcohol. So hopefully if you're working on the job, you're not going to be drinking alcohol, but that goes for people who are outside doing recreational things. So at the beach, on the river, in the backyard pool, alcohol can actually dehydrate you and accelerate the development of heat illness.
How can we gauge a good amount of water intake and that it's required for us to stay hydrated, whether that's in adults or in children?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of it depends on what you're doing outside. So, the recommended is eight ounce glasses of water a day. You need to probably increase that if you're outside and just sweating. So if you're hanging out at the pool, relaxing, maybe sun tanning and all that kind of stuff, you'll probably need more because you'll be sweating and out in the heat. But if you're outside working, doing yard work or exercising, you'll need a lot more water based on your amount of sweating that you're doing.
And what are the symptoms of heat-related illnesses?
So things like nausea, vomiting, maybe a little bit of a headache, feeling tired, fatigued, are kind of the common ones. Maybe a lot of muscle cramps, and that as you get more along the spectrum of heat-related illnesses, one of the big signs is to stop sweating. So people may be outside doing stuff and then they all of a sudden realize they're not sweating anymore. That's not a good thing. That's not, oh, great, I'm not sweating anymore. It must be I'm used to being outside. No, that's your body's warning sign that it's under heat stress, and it's the cue to get inside, start drinking water, get under a fan or an air conditioned environment, because you are actually going to get into trouble. And then the big one when we talk about heat exhaustion are anybody with neurological symptoms, we'd like to say. And those would be things like seizures, altered sensorium, altered level of consciousness, not acting appropriately, or passing out completely and being unresponsive.
Let's say somebody under the age of 1, they're not able to advocate fully for themselves, and we're having a pool day. As a mother, what should be the first step to take to either prevent that or notice?
Sure. So it's somebody that young, I would think long and hard about actually taking them outside for an extended period of time. Make sure they're properly protected with clothing, sunscreen, a hat, those kind of things. Still need to keep them hydrated. So whether that's formula or milk or Pedialyte, water, etc. You just have to be cautious in how much like plain water you give somebody that age. And the sweating still applies. So a child that age outside should be able to sweat. But if they stop sweating, not a good thing. You need to get them inside and get them cooled. And then the other things you would look for, a real big one in that age group would be irritability, being very fussy, being very, crying a lot, just not acting themselves should be a warning to the parents that that child's in distress and you need to get them inside, cooled off. And if that doesn't work, they need to get to a hospital.